ENGL1110, Composition 1. I'd like to give a course overview to get you started. So my agenda today in this video is to welcome you and let you know a little bit about me, to look at the course objectives and how our assignments are compiled and how they get us there, and a little bit about our calendar because summer goes fast, and then some details as well about how I approach things like grading so that you know what to watch for. So who am I? I am Claire Barker, and I just go by Claire. You can choose differently if you so desire, but I usually just go by my first name. And these are some fun things about me. In the background, you'll often hear Harry and Matilda, my English bulldogs. We rescue them, and they are a lot of fun. Harry's going to have his birthday this summer. So what have I done? I've done coursework, ABD as they call it, toward my PhD, but I started in architecture. I started in something I thought I was passionate about because my family has been in construction and that's what I was used to. But I found that English was what I really loved, and I especially like looking at medieval studies, and I like looking at mental health in the Middle Ages and seeing how the same things that we experience now are often present there, but people have a different vocabulary and they have a different way of viewing those same actions. And of course, they have far fewer treatments. So it's a super interesting thing to see, and I love to hear about mental health and what we can do about it. That's my subject area that I really enjoy. I shared this quote here of President Barack Obama because I think it's so important. He says that because when we study together and we learn together, we work together and we prosper together. That's what I believe. And that to me is what draws me to education. It is so exciting to grow together. So I teach here at San Juan College. I started last in 2024. And then I also teach online at Colorado Technical University, where I've been since 2012. So I went online in July of 2012. It's been a while. I typically teach academic and career success now, but I used to teach literature and I sometimes teach English. Elsewhere, I also teach English composition and literature and creative writing. And in the past, I taught even more. I taught a bit of communications, which was a lot of fun. So I love exploring all of those, and I've sort of settled into what I do. So what are we doing? In our class, we are looking at 6 core concepts. Every course is going to have these kinds of things, and it is a good idea to look at your syllabus and say, what are the aims? What are the big picture aims? These are not typically things that your instructor comes up with. They're not necessarily things your institution comes up with either. These are directly related to what the state examination boards require. It's what the national boards require. So when you are going to one school and we are giving you your associate, so we want to see you go on to get your bachelor's or more, we want you to be able to take this coursework and transfer it and apply it elsewhere. So we want to make sure we are on board with all of those different organizations to accredit a course. And so these course objectives are mandated and they will transfer to other universities. So they know we're teaching the same thing that you would get at University of New Mexico or Stanford University. You're going to get those same things and those key course objectives. So we are analyzing communication. So we're going to read some stuff and we're going to write some stuff. We want to practice the writing processes. So we're going to do this in a lot of ways. We're going to look at planning and organizing, composing. We're going to practice that, but we're also going to look at what we're reading and say, how did they do it? And do I like that? And what appeals to me? We're going to look for having that primary purpose. So having a thesis and being organized. These are all things that we don't necessarily have right off the bat. They're things that we practice and we work on together, and we get tips and tools and tricks to make them smoother as we practice them. And of course, we want to do some research. We want to know what that could look like. How do we access the library? What kind of needs are there? How do we get hold of librarians who are wonderful supports? I am always a cheerleader for that. Get out there and talk to librarians, talk to tutoring. Those are teams who are delighted to help, and they have so many insights. And we want to employ academic writing styles. So we're going to try a couple of different essays because we want to look at how we write in different forms. So for instance, we're doing a personal narrative essay. That's quite different than the literary analysis, the textual analysis we do second, and the research that we do third. We want to apply those ideas and say, well, what happens? What sort of shifts go on when I change my writing? And of course, we want to keep practicing those things we always are all working on, identifying and correcting grammatical and mechanical errors. That, again, is practice as well. I like to have a um, particular grammatical issue that I focus on. So I spent a long time looking at split infinitives. I was like, what is that? Even though I know all these English things, I was like, that doesn't trigger any thought process right when I heard it. And then I had learned about them, I studied them, I examined my writing for them until I knew whether I wanted or didn't want to apply them. And then I began to work on commas. So I like to pick something and tackle that, as well as working on like sort of general insights, but I pick one specific thing to learn about and focus on. So tackle these ideas as you see them. We're going to look at lots of tools, and we want to not feel overwhelmed by that, but say, what kind of tools can I put in my pocket, can I save, and what kind of tools do I think I'm going to be using every day? So to get there, we have lots of assignments. I'm going to show you some documents in a little bit at the end, but I compile all of these into different types of documents because I personally need like a chart with dates and things like that. So I like to give you that, and I update it for each class. So our class, because it is so fast, is going to be on a Monday to Thursday, Thursday to Sunday schedule. So we're going to do sort of 2 weeks every week, because we've got to squish things in there. Normally the class is 15 weeks, and I have divided it into 11 sections. So I deleted 4 weeks for you, but I can't get rid of anything else. So typically we only have 3 to 4 assignments, but some weeks, as you can tell, are really massive. So we want to be prepared for that and watch for those super duper busy moments. We also want to watch that calendar date for the first week and the last week, because those are a little truncated. But as a side note, remember that when we're looking at something and we're talking about the time and the effort that goes into it, when we look at something and I say, oh, well, a student should have a day to do that. And then I look at something else and I say, oh, you should have a week to do that. And something else, maybe a month. That means there are different expectations on those assignments. And so because ours are so fast, I expect to have a little more typos perhaps, or a little bit shorter, or a little bit less full and developed, because you are going to do it, you are going to succeed at it, but also you aren't getting a full week each time for each assignment. You're getting a couple of days. And so I'm thinking about that as I grade them. So we typically are going to have 3 kinds of assignments every single week. A couple weeks we don't have all 3, but we'll have at least 1 discussion, if not 2. We'll have a quiz, at least 1 usually, and then we'll have submitted assignments. So let's go look at what those can look like. When we're looking at those different forms, this sort of calls it out a little bit more clearly for you. But we are looking at consistent grading. One of the things that I always am concerned about is the idea that one particular assignment could tank you. One assignment could change a whole letter grade or change your whole course. And I just don't like that. I like that you are present, that you are trying, and that if there is a little bit of a slip up, that you aren't massively destroyed by that when it looks at your grade book. So we have discussions every week, as I pointed out, at least 1, and those are 20 points apiece. That means we make 3 posts to get all those points. A primary response where you are reacting to that content and you are responding to the questions, and then 2 peer responses. Then we're going to have quizzes over what we read. Those could be generally multiple choice. If there is fill in the blank, it's 1 or 2, and they are 10 points at each round. Then we have submitted assignments, and those are generally across the board 30 points, and most of them have matching rubrics where we're looking at 25 points for completing the assignment and 5 points for attempting MLA, because we want to practice that. These could be worksheets that I give you where I want you to fill in the blank or explore certain elements. And I give examples, for instance, of the story we're reading, and I'll say, I'm looking at these rhetorical devices. Could you fill in 3 more that you find? Sometimes they're going to be drafts of our papers or practice writing that we're doing, like perhaps a paragraph that we're practicing. None of these are alone. These are all things that, like for instance, the textual analysis, and I say, hey, could you fill in some of these blanks? Those should be things that you could then use in your paper. And your practice paragraph, well, that is a paragraph that goes into your paper, and that draft becomes another part of your paper. Then we have 3 essays. So the essays obviously have a higher point value. Units 1 and 2 are 100 points, and the final essay is 150 points. So that's the only one that could change your grade by about a letter grade, depending on how we're tackling it. But overall, if you are consistent and you're in there, you should do fine with grading, and there's a little wiggle room for missing a thing here or there. So because we have that much shorter time, we are doing a bit of an overlap. I divided each week into Monday through Thursday, where we have due dates on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then Thursday through Sunday, where we're looking at Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I try to give you a little room in there to wiggle around and find your schedule. So aim for early rather than late, and let's see what we can do. I do prefer a relaxed late policy because I think life gets really busy, and if we miss something by a day, I don't want to see someone penalized for that, because that happens to me as well. But the main thing is to communicate with me. And then there are points in our course where I simply can't let you go back and try to redo things, just because we do not have that time. In longer classes, yes, we do have a little more time to catch up. But for our class, if we miss 2 weeks, we really have missed we missed a third of the entire course, and it's going to be very difficult to catch up. So we cannot miss full sections. Then my approach. So how do I tackle all of these things? That's not the part that we necessarily get a lot of education on as professors. We are good at the material, and then we are told to teach it. So we end up developing our teaching philosophy sort of on the fly. So over the last, goodness, we're closing in on like 13 or 14 years in higher ed. 2010 was my first year in higher ed, so we're looking at quite a while. I have developed my ideas on what class should look like. So discussions to me are like classroom chats. Like, we don't stop and say, oh my goodness, I think your sentence was grammatically incorrect. No, we are talking, we're communicating, we're chatting, we're getting comfortable. So I might ask for more details. I might ask for more examples, but I'm not going to be sitting there saying, oh my goodness, I can't believe your grammar wasn't perfect. I can't believe you made a mistake on that. I think that's the point. Like, we are chatting, so we should make mistakes. We should air ideas and say, well, oh, how is this idea working? What do y'all think? And then that feedback helps us streamline our ideas and get support and grow. So I'm looking for all of that to happen, not for a heavy condensed. Everyone has written it 800 times to make it perfect before it comes in. Also, there are links here for short answer responses. That's essentially what every discussion is in a classroom. So I provide that so you can go explore and check it out. It can help in formulating those. Overall, make sure you're communicating. If I don't know what's happening with you, I can't find a support for you. I can't tap into those resources with you. I can't know if I'm doing something well with you or badly with you. Oops, I accidentally left that in. Our grading deadlines, I'm aiming for about 72 hours. For grading, because we are going so fast. Please reach out if you have a certain work schedule that you're working with. Please talk to me about that, and let's find the best space for that, because I don't mind marking something early or giving you a little bit of space each week. You know, we have a little bit of wiggle room. Let's use it. And then feedback. I utilize rubrics. Those are included. They are grading criteria is another name for them. They are on each assignment. I like to include comments within papers. So if it is just text that's included, I can't highlight and make notes. But if it is a document, PDF, that kind of thing, I can leave underlining and comment bubbles. So if I can't, I will always put something in the feedback bubble instead. If you want a copy edited paper, please let me know. I like to go over it in detail, but I find that I am always looking for Goldilocks. I'm always looking for just the right amount of feedback. And so I found that if I just indiscriminately go copy edit, I can overwhelm all of you. So I like to look for some key items for that particular assignment and some supports to help you work on issues and challenges. I also like to point out what you're doing well. So watch for those things where you are getting it and acing it. But feedback is a discussion. It's a conversation. It's space. So like Goldilocks, looking for that perfect set. I'm looking for what's perfect for each class. I'm looking for what's good for you. And I'm not always going to hit that right away. So I need you to let me know. I need you to tell me if you want more feedback, if I'm overwhelming you. If feedback is surprising or confusing, that's totally okay. Like, it means that we need to communicate. We need to chat about it. And I'm here to share more ideas with you. So I may have described it in a way that doesn't make sense to you. Reach out and say, I don't get this. Help me make that next step. Most importantly, finally, the moment class becomes miserable, you need to reach out. Yes, some things are going to be a little complex, a little tricky at times. It may take a moment to catch it, but it should never feel awful. It should never feel overwhelming and alone. Reach out and ask those questions because I am your teammate and I'm here to help you with it. So I'm really excited to explore English 1110 with you this summer, and we are going to do amazing together as a team and as a class.